So over this weekend, I was having a conversation with my mom about, growing up. And when I was a kid, I tended to play by myself. Um, I didn't have a whole lot of friends. I did have, just this tight network of like really, really, really close friends. And I would oftentimes find that I was a bit annoyed when they came over, and I had to hang out with them because sometimes I just didn't feel like fucking hanging out with them. So anyway, my mom was talking to me about play and tasks because my mom was very tasks oriented, and she was always really into, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? And how's your progress going? Like she just wanted to quantify our progress and quantify our achievements. So that's how I orient myself, is task and achievement oriented. So when I was around other kids and they're doing stuff, like if we had a task that we needed to do, a lot of kids would get distracted and I would just keep doing my thing. Like I didn't care that the other kids were playing. I didn't care that they were distracted because I need to go ahead and finish this shit right here. And I think that contributed to my disinterest in being around other people because, I need to get this thing done and you're not helping me. So I'm just gonna do my own fucking thing. Dude, it's hot in here. I'm gonna move to a different room. What was I talking about? Kid shit. Alright, so when I was a little kid, I tended to be, I just kept to myself more often because I enjoyed my own company. I did have friends, of course, and I would play games where, you needed other people to play in order to have fun because I do like things like kickball. Kickball is the fucking best. Kickball is great. And you can't play it by yourself. So you need other people to play with. So stuff like that. I would typically play with like Beanie Babies and stuffed animals by myself. Or I would draw by myself. I really just had a lot of hobbies that were very solitary hobbies. And so I kind of, grew into that. Especially in light of being an introverted person where I, gain my mental energy from being by myself. It just made sense that I would have, hobbies that were really, by yourself hobbies. And I think there's a bit of confusion when I refer to myself as introverted and talk about some social situations being kind of uncomfortable. I think that people assume that I'm saying that I have social anxiety, that I'm uncomfortable because the situations make me anxious, and that is not the case. It's more of situations where there's a lot of, social engagement on my part. They make me uncomfortable because they're draining, and I don't enjoy feeling run down and tired all the time, and so that's why they're uncomfortable. They don't cause anxiety so much as they just drain the fucking life out of me. Another thing I was thinking about just this past weekend when I was talking to my mom about like social interactions and how I behave during interacting with other people and how she noticed things about me when I was younger. Between the ages, I would say, of like 8 to 16, my mom noticed that I was just straight up fucking rude. Like, as far as social conventions go, I had just forgotten a lot of the things that she had taught me and drilled into me from childhood. Like when you enter a room saying hi to people, stuff like that. I think this is a product of how my mind works and how I interpret social interaction. Social conventions seem a bit arbitrary to me. They're not entirely pointless. Because I do think that they make life a bit simpler because you're able to interact with people, and if you are, polite to someone, then chances are they're going to be polite back to you, and that just makes life more pleasant. So I do think there's value in being, socially engaging, as far as that goes. But if that wasn't the case, then it would just be entirely pointless to me. I don't quite understand social conventions and why we employ them. And so I was thinking about how that works, how I could possibly forget things that were so thoroughly drilled into me. And I think it's because to me, interacting with other people isn't like riding a bike. It's not something that you never forget. To me, it's almost like learning another language. And so I remember a fair amount of things. Like, it's not like I'm just terrible at it. I remember a good amount of things. But if I don't practice it, then a lot of the, extra stuff kind of dwindles off. So like with Spanish, I've been learning Spanish since I was in middle school. And so I remember all the base stuff. I remember the alphabet, I remember the colors, I remember actually a fair amount of Spanish. But when you get into the more nuanced things, more complicated things, like learning preterite and subjunctive, I I just forget. I've just forgotten those things. And I think it's similar for social interactions for me, where the things that are really, really complicated, the things that are really, really extra, just like I don't remember superlatives, like that kind of stuff. Um, they kind of dwindle off for me unless I keep practicing every day and expose myself to things like that. So yeah, I think that's how it works for me, at least. That's the best analogy I can come up with at the moment. So being an asocial introvert and understanding how social convention is almost like a language to me that I have to decipher, I think these are really important things to understand about oneself, to delve into and to try to, you know, decipher where these things came from and how they've shaped you. I think it's really important. I think I've done a pretty good job in navigating through different sociospheres with this information in mind. For me, being comfortable is, it's the goal. It's what I strive for. I just want to be comfortable in all situations that I'm in. It's strange because living for me is uncomfortable. I don't know if I'll ever feel like I am a fulfilled human being. I don't know if I'm capable of it, but I can make sure that life is comfortable, that all the physical things outside of living are comfortable for me, even if I never feel like there's a point to all this shit. So my physical comfort, that I feel secure, that I am getting enough food, that I am in homeostasis, so to speak. And it's difficult to maintain that homeostasis when you're constantly changing and the expectations of you are always changing. And I mean, I try to keep my expectations low, and I try to keep, because I'm not interested in being around people, and I just don't find pleasure in it. But I try to find a balance in being social and being myself, if that makes any sense. So this has just been a rant about me being asocial and being an introvert, and kind of how I interact with the world around me. I'll probably make a video about, the definitions themselves, get more in depth about how uh, introverted and extroverted people work. But for the moment, this will have to do. So pieces.